You've reached Monster 911, and I'm Lance Hightower. I've been taking cryptid emergency calls for over 5 years. If you have a cryptid emergency, please call our toll-free number, 866-306-8085. I can help you. What's your emergency? Hi there, folks. Lance Hightower here, back with another episode of Monster 911. First of all, I just want to say how great the response from our listeners and subscribers has been since we dropped that first Dogman compilation special. It had been up for 30 minutes before we were getting some really wonderful comments from you guys, and we really appreciate that feedback. It certainly feels good to be back and posting some new content for you all. So if you're tuning in now, then you might have seen that we have a new website and a brand new Twitter page. So please go and check out the links in the description below and have a look at what we put together for you. We'll be dropping some content on there as well as some merch, but we'll be sure to keep you updated as things progress. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. Now, this next story is a good one that was reported to us by a fellow Oklahoma resident back in early 2021. This caller was initially very anxious in talking to someone about what he had seen off a major highway. But after speaking to him, I was able to convince him to share his story on the podcast. In addition, he explains another sighting he had had with his son when they both decided later to go ahead and investigate the location of the original encounter. So sit back, enjoy the podcast, learn all you can, and leave us a comment down below and let us know what you think. Mr. Could we back up, if you don't mind, and just tell me again, and just start from the beginning, if you don't mind, sir, and tell me which way you were driving on Highway and some roughly the location, and then I'll still come to your place and you can draw me a map, but I just want to get the details because that'll help me understand kind of what you saw and everything, if you don't mind.
Starting from going east on highway, you go on about, I'm going to say 5 miles, and you'll see a school. Turn off and be a big sign there that says school.
Okay.
And you go on, keep going east there, about, I'm going to say about a quarter or half a mile, you'll see a big valley. And in the bottom of this valley is a creek, with a creek that runs through. Well, you go on up another 200 more yards, there's another valley. And these flume pipes under there is probably 10 by 12 foot wide, concrete, kind of like a garage. On both of them, they intervene. They meet in the middle of the 4-lane there, and they drain off into a creek. And toward the river. That's where we're seeing him.
You saw it on the north side or south side?
The west side.
The west side.
West side of the highway.
West side of the highway. Now, the highway runs east and west, right?
Yes.
Highway. So.
There'd be the south side.
South side. South side of the road is where you saw him.
Right.
Okay. And
you'll see it. You get past the school there, like you're going, and a big valley down in there. And the reason I look down in there, because a lot of deer, and I like seeing the deer. Well, this morning there wasn't no deer. It was just dadgum Sasquatch was hopscotching like he's carrying something. And he disappeared. I couldn't figure out where he went. And then I put 2 and 2 together, went in the flume pipe of the drain. And
you were traveling eastbound or westbound?
I was going east.
You were going eastbound, okay?
Yeah, towards. Yeah.
And you said that you had some family members with you, but they didn't see it.
My wife and son, I hollered at them, look at that, what is that? Look. And by the time they got around to look or to see anything. Well, he done disappeared under the highway.
Wow.
And then 2 days later, me and my older son was going that same area and got about there to school, and I got a call from the school over our son. So I just pulled off the side of the road, and you can see down in that valley, and I was talking to school, and that's when the wolves come across the highway in front of us.
About what time was that?
Oh, probably around 9 o'clock in the morning. It was during deer season like it is right now.
Right.
You know, this time of the year. That's why I was so concerned about it, because I hadn't had nobody to talk to.
And you did a little bit of research to find me.
Yeah.
You said you saw me when I was at Walmart.
It's just by accident. It was an accident. I seen you on TV, and I thought, well, I'm going to see if I can get a hold of him. And
so you did a Google search, it sounds like, and you came across
my... Yeah, sure did. That's what I did.
Well, at least didn't come up with any criminal charges on me or anything. And you got a hold of my business number.
Right.
And that's how you found me. Okay. Wow.
Yep.
So you needed to talk to somebody about this.
I need somebody, to know about it, because it just kind of concerned me. Then I was shocked because I'd never seen one. I've heard people say I've seen one, and this and that, I've seen this and that, and I said, you people are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a believer now, by Ellie.
How long have you been? Now it sounds like you're you told me that you are a veteran of the armed forces, and
yeah, I was in the Marine Corps.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, that's something that everybody does,
Yes, sir. You've been out in the woods a few times to say, and you've hunted. It sounds like you know what things sound like, what looks like, and all the creatures, big and small, out in the woods in Oklahoma.
Yeah, like in Vietnam, we had these rock apes. You heard about them?
Well, I have a little bit, but I've not really spoken to someone about them.
Them rascals, you'd be on patrol and going through the jungle, and one of them rascals threw a rock at you. You think it's a grenade. They kept you jumping all the time. We call them rock apes.
Rock ape. Now, were these like a Bigfoot, or were they just a small monkey?
No, they're just monkeys.
Okay.
Yeah, a little smaller than a chimpanzee.
Okay, yeah, that would kind of set me on edge, throwing rocks at me.
Yeah, they know how to throw rocks at you.
Well, they've got that opposable thumb, like a human. So if they can grab something to throw, I mean, in many ways, at least it wasn't number 2 thrown at you.
You're right. Yeah.
So
anyway, we have heard a lot of strange goings on around here. We live right on the core land, right on the edge of core land, and our land borders the core. And of course, you couldn't no vehicles or anything on there. But my wife has heard weird noises coming out of the core land.
Just recently, or just over the years?
Oh, well, just every now and then, here recently.
Did she ever tell you kind of what she heard, or tried to mimic what the sound sounded like to her?
What did it sound like to you, Mom? Oh, she done took off and left me.
So were they, was it like a monkey sounds?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is what I heard one night. I was out on a porch, it was nice and warm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's probably around 9, 10 o'clock. You know how cows get after something and they're yipping and carrying on, chasing their dinner.
Right.
But this one particular night, I was sitting out there and I heard the coyotes, and all of a sudden this other sound come out. And the sound wasn't no coyote. I knew that, because it was a big, loud scream. uh, they was running along with the cows. They was all the way from the back of the cornland. They run all the way around this loud scream, and then all of a sudden, the scream stopped, and the cows quit yelping, and I figured, well, they caught whatever it was. I told my wife, I said, it's probably a Sasquatch eating the dinner that the cows took down.
That's possible. I will tell you this. My brothers and I, we're a team, and we've been doing this now and interviewing folks for a very long time, and we do a lot of in-the-field investigations to report what's going on and what we find, but just kind of help people out, because some people have them hanging around their property. But one type of creature that's also out there in the woods, especially in Oklahoma, aside from Sasquatches, is something that's kind of come to a little bit more in the news, if you will, in this in certain communities across Oklahoma. Is it looks like a giant wolf. It looks, matter of fact, like a werewolf, and I know that's kind of hard to believe, but they call it a dog man because of how big it is. There's features of it that it's as broad or much bigger than a. It sometimes stands and walks on two legs, although it can also run and walk around on four just as easy. But it looks like a giant wolf. It's massive, and it's anywhere from 350 pounds all the way up to 700.
Man.
And they call it a dogman creature, but I only bring that up because they tend to run along with coyotes.
Right.
They tend to kind of be they run in packs, and so they tend to, coyotes, we think the affinity they have is that they pick up the scraps. The coyotes run with these creatures to pick up the scraps, and
right.
I mean, I've done hundreds of interviews where people have seen this creature running with coyotes.
Yep. Well, that's kind of what I figured. That's why when I seen the wolves, my son and I, we seen those wolves, and I tell you what, there was about 25 or 30 in this pack. And
really?
I could not believe it. They was black wolves, gray wolves, and red wolves.
So tell me about this, because I've never heard of anyone seeing them just right out in the open like that. Now, if you talk to a game ranger, and I know what they say, but I have seen red wolves, and they said there's no red wolves, but they're back. But
yep.
You talk to a game warden or game ranger, they're going to say, typically, at least the ones I've talked to, nah, there's no wolves out here. No.
Yeah, they kept saying that there wasn't any cougars here either, but we got them.
We do. We
yes,
absolutely.
We've seen two of them. Killed one panther, killed one of our goats, and my wife was looking for it and couldn't find it nowhere. Well, this panther evidently knew how to put it up in a tree, and then she was walking out through the pasture here, and the dadgum head of the goat fell out of the tree. So, and we've seen it twice. Now the big black panther.
Really? Man.
Yep.
Well,
he caught it coming over our chicken house.
Really? Okay. So
with a chicken in its mouth.
It knows where the buffet line's at.
Yeah.
Yep. It's hard to remove those panthers once they see the buffet line.
Yeah, we've got chickens missing. Sometimes you'll miss 3 or 4 chickens. And we got Pyrenees dogs, but for some reason they don't run them off like they used to.
Do you, now this is a question, I don't know if you've thought of this, maybe you have, but I'm only going to ask this just because of the number of interviews and what people have said that's happened on their farm. And that is, they'll have livestock or chickens or ducks come missing, and the dogs that were outside in these pens that were intended to protect the animals, like Pyrenees is one of them, the dogs don't bark, the dogs, they can't figure it out. And in many cases, hogs, full-grown hogs were missing, and there was no hole. The gate was still locked. The fence was still locked, and it was a 6-foot
Right.
fence. So they did.
This is what's so strange, though, that sometimes he goes out there and the gate has been pushed in, and chickens are missing. So
The gate has been pushed in.
yes,
Like, is it a chain link fence, or what kind of a gate
no,
is it?
it's chicken wire and kind of a chain link. Yeah,
So when it's pushed in, is it like a big area that's pushed in?
yeah, the whole gate's pushed in.
Well,
And I said, well, that sounds like a human or something.
yeah, that's what I was going to get at. I'm going to propose this is what may be happening. You definitely, I mean, I totally agree with you, sir. There's a lot of mountain lions around here, and you name it. But these Bigfoot love chickens.
Oh yeah,
And
that's what I
so
heard.
and so what they do, in fact, years ago, what's so hard about coming up with stories from years ago is that people didn't know what to call this creature because the name Bigfoot only came about into the 50s. And before that, the Native Americans had Sasquatch, and it probably went by other names. But in small townships, if it was stealing a bunch of chickens, like in El Reno, Oklahoma, they called it the Chicken Man
Yeah,
because of what it was doing or stealing. So
yeah.
there's a story there of the Chicken Man. And then you've got other...
Oh, I like Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. So so that's a possibility of what's happening, is that you could definitely have mountain lions around for sure, like we have out here where I live outside of Terrellton. We have a
Right.
lot of bobcat and mountain lion. I've got a neighbor that's got quail, turkeys, ducks, chickens, you name it. But the other thing is that Bigfoot, they are drawn into these chickens, and they're so tall that they will easily climb over, step over, or try to push in a fence or a gate, and they know how to unlock gates. They know how to, if you have a false lock on a gate or a little 10-penny nail or something, they know how to pull that out and open the gate. And sometimes they'll put it
They're
right
very
back.
smart to be, to be not being seen. They
They're
know how to get around.
very fast too. And
We have another 10 acres down the road here, and my two sons, the one in Minnesota, the one that seen the wolves with me.
mm-hmm.
Well, Hammond went down in the pasture, and they took a little flashlight. It was getting dark, and they got down in the bottom there. Got a driveway, the creek that runs down the bottom, and so when they got back down in there, all of a sudden something to the right of them went, ooh, ooh. It sounded like a ooh, ooh, like that.
Oh.
And anyway, and then the thing about it was, that didn't scare him because he thought it was an owl. But then there were about 5 or 6 other ones around out further out in the woods. They go, ooh, 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 to all different areas.
Holy
And he
cow.
said they got the heck out of there.
Yeah, that wasn't an owl.
No, it was. I told the, and I said, son, that sounds like Sasquatch family.
Yep, that's what it is. That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
They know how to mimic animals, but when they mimic an animal such as an owl, it'll sound like a bad version of an owl.
Right.
When you get an owl, like around here we have quite a few of them, it'll be whoo 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 whoo, right?
Right.
But these, it'll sound like hoo 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 hoo
Right.
hoo. It'll just sound really bad.
Yep. And there's
And
about 5 or 6 of them scattered out in the woods and making that same bracket all around them. And
man,
said, oh, they got the heck out of there anyway.
yeah, that was a good plan.
Yep.
Did he know right then what it might be, or he just knew something was wrong and he just got out of there?
Never done know what it might be, but it was good. It was enough to scare them. And they got back to the house, and I told, when he got back, I said, that sounds like a Sasquatch to me with family with him.
And this was on your
another thing,
I'm sorry, say that again?
there's a cave
Oh, really?
just off the right on the other land, and it is growed up. You can't see it with the naked eye through the woods. You got to walk down there and find it. So it's a good place for them.
And this is on your property?
Yeah, so that's where they heard the noise, but the cave is not on my property now. It's on the land over next to it. I can draw you a map to show you when you come out and get this map.
Okay. So when your son went down there with his buddy, had you already seen the Sasquatch off the highway, or was this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had already seen this.
So when you saw this, you told me when I was in Walmart shopping with my wife, I just kind of pulled off to the side of in an aisle. You said that you felt like you had to tell somebody, and you stopped at a little convenience store or something right after that.
Yeah.
Tell me that. What you?
The first little convenience store just before you get into Sand Springs, on the right hand side of the road. I pull in there, and I usually get gas and maybe something to drink. After getting out of water,
I know where. I know where you're talking now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I walked in there. I thought, I got to tell somebody. But anyway, this older guy was standing there. I said, I want to tell y'all something. Y'all might think I'm crazy. He said, what's that? And I said, I just seen a Sasquatch. He said, man, I don't think you're crazy, because he said, I live in I've seen two of them. And I said, oh, man, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't want to make fun of me or laughing. But, yeah, that's what they said.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Crazy.
Was this a guy that worked there?
No, he was just a customer like I was. And I stand in line.
I've got to go in there.
Waiting.
I've got to go in that store and leave a flyer up. If people have seen a Sasquatch, please give me a call.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. I tell you what, I think you're going to find there's quite a few people that are just not saying anything or don't know who to call to say to.
Well, and that's a good point I bring up all the time, is that not many people know about our show on YouTube, especially if people aren't really computer savvy, and there's still millions of people that really aren't, and that's okay. But I believe that there are literally thousands more people that they don't know about our show, they don't know about our toll-free number, and they need to tell somebody, but they don't know who really to tell. I mean, there was no crime committed.
They don't really know who to talk to. That was my problem. That was my problem, see. And I seen that show today, and I seen your name, and I said, Tulsa, oh my God, I can see if I can get a hold of this guy.
Well, I'm glad you did. I am so glad you did. Boy, you've got some tenacity.
Tell you what, if you go down on that Plume Pipe on that highway, you better take a couple of people with you, according to my son, with some good spotlights. He said it gets dark in there and you can't see anything.
Oh, really?
And he said that you could just about anything could live there. Animals.
So I imagine, because that highway is quite, considering the slope of that highway,
this Plume Pipe dumps out into the river. Under the railroad, the creek where it dumps out in goes under the railroad and off in the river. So it looks like it might be a good trail for something like that.
Might go down there and see if I can see any prints.
Right.
That would be a good spot to go down there and take a look.
That'd be great. I wish I was able to have done it, but I just ain't able to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we go down there, I'll take some pictures, and if we get a print, I'll cast it and I'll bring it to you and I'll show you what we got. I'll get you involved in some way.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'll keep you involved, and I'll take a film and footage of it on a GoPro, and then I'll put it on my email and I'll send it to you so you can just push play.
Yeah. If you need any other verification, all you got to do is call my son.
Okay. So
And
what does he think about all this?
well, he said he was glad. I called him. I told him you might be calling because I was going to give him your number, and he said, "Good deal. Have him call me. I'll tell him, talk to him." I said, "All
Yeah.
right."
Well, I tell you, my wife and I lived in Tulsa about 12 years, actually 13. And we just always wanted to go back into the country. I'm used to the country. I grew up in the country.
All right.
She's not. But I said, I just thought we were just going to stay in Tulsa, but she was cruising around on one of the real estate websites and came across this home, and it was too good to pass up. And this was actually back in March when all this COVID stuff hit. So when we were moving out here, it was like a ghost town. There was nobody on the highways, which was great for us because we didn't have any traffic to contend with.
All right.
And when I came out here, it's nothing. We're down here on this wildlife management area. There are 12,000 acres down here on this Cimarron.
All right.
And the first thing that came to mind, of course, me doing these interviews, is I'm looking around going, there's got to be some Sasquatch or dogmen out here. There's got to be. There's got to be.
Well, they're sure here.
Because where you have wildlife, deer, hogs, and large and small game, turkey, you've got to have these creatures around. I mean, there's so much coverage for them.
That's true.
And there's so much land to roam around and not be seen. And you also told me something that was interesting. Tell me about the color.
The color of this thing?
Yes, sir.
You could walk right by him in the woods, and he could just sit still, and you wouldn't even see him. I guarantee you, the color of his hair coming off of his shoulders was the color of an oak tree. The oak leaves, the brown oak leaves. My God, if you lay down on the ground, you wouldn't know it. That's so much camouflage there. I thought, man, God, no wonder people don't see them things as much as they should, because
it's like a ghillie suit.
Huh?
It's like a ghillie suit, like they're wearing a ghillie suit.
Right.
And when you told me that it had like blonde hair mixed with brown and gray and black, I thought, well, that's about every color in the spectrum out here right now.
Yeah, kind of blonde. Well, it's the same because the head was a blonde color, like the grass, sage grass, dried up like it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the hair come down about the color of oak leaves, the color they are right now. They're dark brown.
Wow, that would be so hard to see right now out here in Oklahoma.
Yep. You couldn't. The only thing you could do, they say they smell. I don't know. I've never been one close enough to smell it, but the only thing you get is you smell one. You better look good because this rascal could have hid anywhere, and I'd have never known it.
So tell me, when you saw it for a few seconds. How did it move?
It just hop skipped. It was carrying something.
Both hands were not. It was carrying. Both hands were like in front of it, carrying something.
Right. Both hands in front of him, and I figured he was carrying the deer leg or something. Or like you said, it might have been a baby, but I felt like it was food.
It's possible. I said a baby earlier. I was at Walmart. I said, well, a possibility is that it could have been a female carrying a little one. But in the same breath, though, too, I do believe the possibility is high that it was carrying food, and as far as something that you would drop, and so you want to use both hands.
It didn't run like a human. It kind of jumped. You know what I mean? Hopscotched, or what do you call it?
Really?
Yeah, it didn't run like a human. Just bam, 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 bam. It was bam, bam, bam. Just kind of a jump hop.
But I imagine it was covering a lot of ground with each hop.
Yeah, it was. It disappeared fast. I couldn't figure out for a second where it went. And after I got on down the road, I said, that there thing must have went in a plume pipe or something because I didn't realize that thing was that big down there until my son went down, checked it out, and I know he said he wouldn't go back in it, not without a light and 2 or 3 guns.
Yeah, it's that was probably a good move on his part to not go in there right now like that.
He went in, got so dark he couldn't see, and he come back out, and I sat up there waiting on him, and well, here he comes, dragging up out the hill. Said, Dad, he said, I won't go back in there without 2 or 3 good spotlights and maybe a couple of shotguns.
Well, yeah, you're going to need some heavy ammo when you go with a shotgun too. You just don't want to carry a pea shooter. I mean, you don't want to start a fight, but if it comes down to where there is a fight, you want to make sure to have, since you're not going to be as big or as strong or as fast.
There's 2 areas though. When you start in that thing, they can go out on the other one that comes in and meets it, or they can go out the other end.
Oh,
so
really?
2 ways they can get out. Yeah. If they run from you, like if you go in one end, then there's another flume pipe that meets that one underneath the highway. They can go out it or out the other end.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like a Y. It's shaped like a Y.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's crazy. If I could do it, I'd go do it.
Well, I understand, and that's okay. We'll go out there and I'll get your map so I know exactly where it's at, or your son can come.
Well, he won't be able to. He's up in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he lives in Minnesota. Yeah. Him and his wife lives in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Well.
And the other son, he was killed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Somebody shot him.
I am so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's a bad deal.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, my wife is on the other 2.
Well, he at least he went in a little ways. Tell me, how long, what time of day was this that you saw this encounter? Or this?
It was about 9 or 10 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yep, that's about the same time I seen the wolves.
That's a strange time.
Yep, it's around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning.
Broad daylight.
Yep. Broad daylight. I could not believe it, wolves. I just could. I'm telling you, I was shocked.
Right across.
Right, they come right across in front of my pickup, and then my son sat right there and watched them.
Were they pretty good size?
Oh my God, yeah. It's kind of scary. It really was.
How big do you think they were?
Oh, they'd probably go 160 pounds.
160 pounds?
140 to 160 pound wolves. Yes, sir.
Woo!
And I seen one out here in front of the house, and this pastor across the road. And that was the biggest thing I ever seen. And I hollered at my neighbor. He's sitting there talking to me, and I said, "Look at the dang wolf." At first, I thought it was a deer. It was so big. And I said, "Oh my God, it's a wolf! Look!" And he looked. He never just see it. They just trotted off like we didn't mean nothing.
Man.
Yep.
Wow. And this was on.
What, baby?
This was on your property?
Just across the road from me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I haven't seen any. I mean, I've heard of these red coy wolves, that they're not too big, but to have a black or a gray wolf present, 160 pounds, that's a totally different.
Well, I might have overgauged that a little bit. They was a good size. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Oh.
They was as big. They was as big as the Pyrenees.
Oh man, that's good size.
Yep. Yep.
Man, alive.
Every one of them.
Boy, I tell you what, if I was predator calling, had a whole pack come in, I think you'd be in a heap of problems.
You ain't kidding. That's what was worrying me. We had a bunch of goats and that pack of wolves, and I thought, oh my God. And somebody said, well, they're turning them loose. I said, why? That don't make any sense. But
Man
anyway,
alive.
there was a bunch of them. It it was kind of scary because I was fearing for the livestock, calves and the goats, and people's property. But it still may come to that.
Well, that's what I don't understand because people that have livestock and they've got ducks and chickens. I mean that costs a lot of money, and
You did,
they provide eggs and a source of meat for the farmer and his wife. So to let wolves out, heck, you can't compete with that. Especially
crazy. That's the craziest thing I ever seen.
well,
But
there's no hunting season per se on wolves. I mean, if you call a wolf up and you're a predator caller, you can shoot it here in Oklahoma.
yeah,
And we've got coyotes crazy out here sometimes, but every once in a while I'll get an odd sound to a coyote that doesn't sound like a coyote.
well,
And
I guarantee you this didn't sound like a coyote. I knew it wasn't a coyote.
you said it was a scream.
It was it was a loud like that. Just I mean,
Really?
oh yeah, it was loud. It was way above the coyotes, and I thought, oh my God, I want sound like a Sasquatch and running with
Ooh,
them coyotes.
man, that'd bring the hair on the back of your neck
Yeah.
up. Your wife, when she heard some of the sounds, did they sound similar what you said, or was it different?
What did it sound like when you heard them? Just loud scream.
Hmm.
Yep.
And that's over on that core land you said.
Right. It's just right next to us here. Our land borders the core land.
Does she notice that these sounds are more prevalent in the fall, in the summer, in the winter?
When did you hear them, honey? In the fall, summer, or winter? Early spring.
Early spring.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. I tell you what. But listen, Doc, I'm gonna get off of here and
Okay. I appreciate your
let
time.
me a call when you get ready.
Yep, we're going to take a trip. When I get back, we'll pick a weekend maybe, or mid morning or something that's convenient for you, of course. And I'll come over and I'll introduce myself, and it'll be a pleasure to meet you. And if you can draw
Yep.
me a map, and I'll take my brothers and we'll go over there and we'll take a look around, and I'll take pictures and everything, and I'll bring back and show you.
Yep. But just make sure you got protection when you go in that
Well, we do.
underneath that highway.
We always have protection. We always tell people. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time and just your tenacity in finding me. And if anything comes up or you hear anything, let me know, and we'll chat some more when I get back.
All right, Doc. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and you have a great Christmas and a wonderful New Year, both you and your wife.
Too.
Oh.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. So this was quite interesting. This gentleman, he told me at Walmart too, which he didn't say here, I don't think. Or maybe he did. He just said that he didn't believe people that saw Bigfoot. He just kind of laughed at him, thought it was just kind of a funny and just a campfire story to scare people. But he's a believer now, and he saw it, just as many do. You see these creatures when you least expect it, and unfortunately, no one else saw it. He was with his wife and his son, and he was the only one that saw this. And sometimes it happens that way. You've got less than 3 seconds, and you see something that it wasn't a man. It didn't move like a man. It was strange, and he saw it in the broad daylight at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and get to him and get the map, introduce myself, find exactly where this was at. And I call it a culvert. It's basically a concrete waterway system that flows out to the rivers. It goes under highways, and they're quite large. the bigger, the broader the highway or the train tracks, the bigger these culverts are. So we're going to take a look. Maybe we get lucky and we go up in there. We'll see some big footprints and we can cast some. So until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and always watch your six. See you next week.